Hello. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of the Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 9, episode 11. It's called The Secret of the Lagoon, and this was a cute episode. It did end as a to be continued, which y'all know how I feel about that. I don't love that, but it was a cute episode. Now, I'm going to need things to pick up, though. I will say that. Like, I like what I'm seeing so far, but I don't know. There's still something missing when it comes to, like, the Real Housewives of Potomac of it all. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the episode. So we start with the episode with Mia. She's hanging out with her kids at, like, a kind of a jungle gym situation, but, like, more of, like, a kid slash, like, older kids slash adults thing where they have like indoor obstacle courses and stuff. So like she's being challenged too. They're in harnesses and doing like obstacle course situation. And she's basically trying to state to us, the audience, that her kids are aware of what's going on with her and Gordon in a divorce, which we saw towards the end of the last episode. That was far from true. I think the kids are confused. And we as an audience, honestly, I'm not really confused at this point. I just don't care because I just don't believe anything that Mia says. So this was a necessary scene, but they could have honestly kept it. Anyway, moving on. All right, next we have Stacy, Karen, and Giselle. They're meeting up for lunch. And basically, we first find out that Annabella, which is Stacy's daughter, is kicking butt, taking names. She is basically like the swimmer of swimmers, just kicking butt, doing what she needs to do. And so they go from there to shifting to talking a little bit about TJ and how he's doing and what he does when he's not in town, when he goes to LA to do his acting gig. And long story less long, the girls still want Stacy to keep her options open and not really deal with TJ because they don't think TJ is like being faithful when he's out there. Because they don't believe this whole thing with him being like, celibate. And I mean, I honestly believe he is celibate, but I don't believe he even wants Stacy. That's my whole thing. And I think that's also where they're getting at too. It's pretty clear that the chemistry isn't really there, and we know that. But anyway, we shift from that to start talking about Karen's party that she's going to be throwing, which is a Love Lagoon party. And apparently Karen just loves having events that are based on love. So it's basically going to be a couples-based type of situation. And it should be good. But basically, we will find out, of course, later on in the episode what the Love Lagoon party is. But yeah, I don't really know what it is. And basically, Stacy was excited and also nervous at the same time. And also, Stacy is still... One thing about Stacy is I don't want her to change because she definitely is a breath of fresh air when it comes to this show. But what gets me when it comes to Stacy is that I'm confused. Her innocence is interesting to me. It's very interesting. Like, she definitely has this innocence about her, but at the same time, she's aware at the same time. I don't know how she toes the line the way she toes it, but I'm very intrigued and very interested. It's actually quite attractive, to be honest. And I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that. We'll talk about that later as this episode transpires. But anyway, let's move on. So next we have Wendy, and she invites all the ladies, so everyone, including the friends ofs and everything. So Jacqueline was there, Jazzy was there, everybody was there, and they're at the clothing store. And Giselle's like, "Oh my gosh, Wendy's been doing the most ever since her 40th year," and she has. But you know what? I approve. As someone who has also been doing the most this year, I all out approve. This year, I also turned 40, and I kid you not, I've been trying to do things that I've never done or get back to doing things. Like, This past weekend, I went to like a punk rock show with a close friend of mine, and we had ourselves a ball. And then even a couple weeks before that, like a group of us went to like a house party, like not really a house party. They're playing house music. Like we went to like a thing, and so and then me traveling, doing the solo dolo traveling. So yeah, I get it. I'm like Wendy too. She is me and me. We are her. Like it's a whole thing. But anyway, so we find out though the real reason why Wendy invited all the ladies is because she's inviting the girls on a cast trip to Panama. So I'm excited to see them in Panama, but I'm also kind of like womp womp womp. I will say this, and this is just a question, a Bravo question, because Potomac, their trips are just never the trips. Their trips are always just on this side of the hemisphere. And I would just love it if they were able to go to something that's different, something that isn't the normal thing. I would love it if they were able to go to like an Asian country or African country. That would be amazing. But I also don't think the budget is budgeting for Bravo anymore. So I think the only time you would see something like that would have been the Ultimate Girls Trip shows, and we know how that ended. So that's not going to be a thing anymore. But that is what the deal is. We also do find out though that Ashley has been seeing Josh. We met Josh last episode during the speed dating situation. So see, it turns out they're kind of still seeing each other, but it makes sense because of what's going on later on this episode. And then we also we find out that everyone got invited to Karen's Love Lagoon event except for Jacqueline. Jacqueline was not invited. Mia tried to be slick and try to invite her and tried to ask Karen about it, and Karen was like, absolutely not, and don't even try it. Which, you know what that means. Mia's gonna try it. Anyway, but that's kind of where this ends here. And I am looking forward to see what happens on the trip, the girls' trip, just to see how different the dynamics are. Now, and also, it's not the United States of these Americas trips. So we'll see what happens here. And hopefully they do something different because I'm just so sick of them always doing the same type of stuff. Like, I would love to see them, I don't know, I don't know. I want to see something different. But we'll see what happens when that girls trip happens. But it's probably going to be either the next episode or this episode after that. So, Kay, in her confessional, she actually stated kind of a similar thing as I said. She's like, Panama isn't really my thing, but I would do more of like maybe a European vacation, but hey, it's fine. But we find out though next after this event, Kay is hanging out with her boyfriend Greg and her brother Brian, and she's talking about the trip. She's getting ready for the trip. She's excited about the trip. And old girl did not know right away. I mean, she remembered after she talked it out, but I think she originally thought Pama Beach, Florida. And no, it's not that. They're going to like Panama, like the country in Central America. And I did catch her say South America. It's like, girl, no, it's Central America. I'll be honest though, I would be interested to go to Panama because Panama was at one point in time, for those who are young, who don't be knowing, it was a U.S. territory that we had like a deal for. Basically when we built the Panama Canal forever ago. But now it's its own thing for the most part. Like we had some like diplomacy when it came to like the Panama Canal because of it being, a major trading area to get from one side of the hemisphere to the other. So now anyway, I guess my whole point is I will be curious to go to Panama just because of that history on how different it is compared to other Central American countries. But I think I need to go to other Central American countries first before I go to Panama. And personally, that's not my number one Country I would like to go to for me is Belize. I want to go Belize first and then maybe check other things out. But we do find out though, as Kay is talking to, back to the original thing we're talking about, Kay is talking to like her brother and talking to Greg. They're excited for her when it comes to this trip, but Greg is still a little apprehensive because I don't think really I don't think Greg really wanted her on the show. Basically, based off of what happened like last season with the fight, he is still kind of like apprehensive when it comes to the group. Also, too, and I don't see Kay and Greg lasting because Greg, again, even in this scene, is very traditional and she is not that. So with them living together now, we'll see what happens here, but I don't know. Um, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think when it comes to this. Anyway. So next we have a scene and it's basically Stacy with Dora. And Dora is Stacy's aunt. But we find out from um, Stacy that this is her dad's youngest sister, but the age gap, she's actually kind of closer to age to her than she would normally be. So she doesn't even call her aunt. She's more like an older sister to her, in her opinion. And so basically they're talking about Stacy's divorce, where she's at with that. Has she met a man? She talks about TJ to him. I mean, not to him, to her. And um, what I would say is, and I think it's also because it's family, she was kind of careful of some of the things she said. She didn't really share all the detail about TJ because, again, the aunt's only hearing about TJ from her talking about TJ, not what we have seen. So Stacy is saying all these great things about this man as if like he's really, really interested in her and all this other stuff. But it's just like, we could see that's not all the way what it is. And so her aunt's giving her advice based upon what Stacy's saying to her, not based upon what we see. And so she's like, I think you're doing a good idea of like not, don't sleep around. Take your time. And I I guess my thought on this whole thing between what Dora's advice was versus like Giselle and Karen's advice, I would kind of take Karen's advice the most because Karen has said it before. I think Stacy needs to wrap up everything when it comes to like her situation with her ex, get the divorce finalized, and then move accordingly. Um, I don't think she needs to sleep around per se, but I don't really see TJ being the one. So I think she needs to keep her options open. If she's just isn't the type to sleep around, then okay, there's that. I am kind of curious to see would she be interested in the Lady Pond though. Someone on the show definitely is. And I don't think I'm bugging. I think it's very clear, but we'll talk about that again because it will come up pretty soon. So then next we have Giselle, and she's going on her second date with the guy she met from speed dating. And I did not get his name. I'm just going to call him N because his name begins with the N, and I don't want to really mess up his name. And outside of this episode, I'm not sure if we're going to see this guy again. But anyway, he does decide to take Giselle on a date to salsa dancing. And Giselle even joked about it. She's like, I can't dance, but you know what? It'll be something different, something new. But the other thing that she kind of made the observation about, which I also happen to agree, is that she doesn't see this being a long-term thing when it comes to this guy because he's a little too nice. She kind of likes a little bit of a rude boy, if you will. And I can see that. He's not as rough around the edges. He's a little too clean for her. But for just a good time to, have someone spend time with and hang out, girl, do your thing. So, we'll see what happens after this. But anyway, we get to see their cute little second date, but then we'll see him later on in the episode because of the Love Lagoon event. All right. Speaking of the event, so we actually have some of the ladies have showed up. I mean, some of the ladies are getting there one by one, and Karen put up all stops. Basically, her decorum looks very similar to Wendy's event, and Wendy makes a comment about it later on in the episode about how you know imitation's the best form of flattery, which I would agree on that. But besides that, the other thing that we see here in this episode is that, oh, we also see that Ashley, Josh, and Giselle, they're riding together to go to this party. Ashley and Giselle are kind of prepping the guys that, hey, you know, we'll protect you. You'll make sure that the ladies don't get on you too much because, again, the show. And for the most part, they weren't really part of anything, so it was fine. So anyway, they're all the everyone's showing up one by one by one. We have Stacy and TJ. They show up first. Oh, and also too, I forgot to mention. Karen had two mermaids in like the pool, and they were swimming, and it was kind of cute. It was a cute little deal. But anyway, so besides Stacy and TJ showing up, then Mia shows up by herself, which yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. And then Jazzy and Darius show up. Wendy and Eddie show up, and Eddie does go to Stacy. Mentions, "Hey, I got some happy Eddie for you for later on." And so cool, cool, cool. And then Greg and Kay show up, and then last but not least, the Giselle and Ashley and Josh show up. And Karen has her thoughts about the guys that she's dating. She actually was pretty spot on about Giselle's date. She's like, I like him, but he is too nice for Giselle. So I don't see it working out. Like, she likes a little bit of a rude guy. And she was like, but then Josh is gorgeous. I see that working out. So we'll see what happens there. And then Wendy, when she sees Josh and everyone come through, Wendy was calling him Jack Harlow. And I mean, I don't think he looks like Jack Harlow, but like he is giving Jack Harlow vibes. Because, Ashley's dating someone who's younger. And then after that, then we kind of get into, so before we get into everyone sitting down and the games, basically Ashley was like, yeah, she's like, Stacy, you look just like one of those mermaids. Like, you just, kind of basically giving her a compliment about how beautiful she is. And Stacy's like, you think I could be a mermaid? She's like, yeah. She's like, well, I didn't bring a bathing suit, so I'm not going to be in the water at all. She's like, oh, you're not? And Ashley's like, and then she was like, did you bring a bathing suit? Do you have something underneath there? And Ashley flashes her cootie cat to Stacy. And Stacy's like, oh my gosh, you just showed me your things. She's like, oh, it won't be the last time. I was like, oh my God. I think Ashley likes Stacy. Yeah. Anyway, so then from there, they're all seated and they proceed to play like the games. And so, child, this is where the party gets started. So one of the first questions that Karen decides to ask the ladies right out the gate, which is crazy that this is the first question, is do you think that your partner has cheated on you before, or has there ever been any infidelity? And for the most part, everyone's answers was kind of mid, but there was a lot of answers that were side-eye answers. For example, Karen and her never cheating on Ray. Everyone was side-eyeing that because of the blue eye rumor. And you know what, though? I think Karen is telling the truth. You want to know why I think she's telling the truth? Because I think her and Ray have an arrangement. If it's an arrangement, then it's not cheating because he's aware of it. But I don't think they're telling everyone on the show because it's really none of their business what they do behind closed doors. But I think they do have an arrangement. Anyway, and then Jazzy was very adamant that, yeah, I think he has. And Darius is just awkwardly like, no, I haven't. It's really awkward. But like, we already kind of knew we were going to get that response based upon Jazzy and what she's told us so far when it comes to her and Darius. And then Mia, of course, Mia had to be being around the mulberry bush, saying all the things that everyone was kind of confused, per usual. But I think the difference is everyone was confused, but they didn't ask any additional questions. Stacy, because she's still new to the group and doesn't realize that Mia be lying, it's just very floored by everything, of course. So she's like, wait a minute. So when y'all had a threesome, he was there? And like, so she's like asking more questions. Like, yeah, he was there. So I mean, that's consensual. But we know she cheated because hello, that's how her and Ink are even together. But Stacy was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And she was kind of the rest of us like, what is this? Like, so we're not gonna like ask additional questions. And Stacy, you were 100% right if we didn't know the extra factor that let's call thing a thing, that Mia be lying. And because Mia be lying, we don't believe this. So anyway, we move on though from that question just because she's doing the most. And then the next question is what Kay drew out, and is she was like, TJ, this might be a good question for you to find out. And it was more or less like asking the questions of, are you a dom or are you submissive? And this is when we find out that TJ's not a virgin. He just isn't doing things right now. So that's kind of what happens here. Anyway, from there, then we go on to the next thing where we have I forgot what I was going to mention. Oh my gosh. I just totally forgot what I was mentioning. I got distracted. I'm kind of halfway watching Real Housewives of New York, even though I should not be watching it because I don't care. But anyway, okay, let me get out of that. So basically, Mia answers the question first, and she states when it came to Gordon, she was the dom, like the dominant one. But then when it comes to Ink, she's a submissive one, and then she goes all the way there and says that she likes to be, that Ink chokes her. And then this is where Karen, in her confessional, being shady as all get out, starts making fun of Ink and how he's like short and stuff, and how he even chokes her. And then Giselle also in her confessional was like, well, he has to in order to hold on. And I was like, oh my God. I was cracking up. So then after that, all the other women are answering the questions. And it's not really that big of a deal the way they're answering the question. Because it's very like, okay, whatever. I would say it's very basic. And until they get to Ashley. And then Ashley is like, okay, so y'all know I like the dib and dabble. So when she's with when she's with women, she's a dominant one. And when she's with men, she is submissive. And so I was paying attention to Stacey's reaction. Stacey came off very intrigued. She's like, And then from there, Wendy's like, yeah, when we were really drunk on my birthday, you had some questions. So we find out that Ashley, when everyone was really drunk, especially technically with Wendy, she's like, so you're going to show me something later? I was like, what? Ashley is a freak on this show. But anyway, so then the producers flash back to, hey, we showed each other's cootie cast back in when they were in Mexico 2 years ago, which happened. But now we find out why it happens is because of Ashley. Because Ashley's a little horn dog. Anyway, I guess if it was me, I personally would not be doing that. Just because of the fact that I don't know, I have girlfriends, and I've never went on really a girls trip, but like I guess even when it comes to my girlfriends, especially if they're like just like my girlfriends that I guess I don't like to mix a barrier of friendships and more than when it comes to like my girlfriends. Friends are my, unless I don't know, unless there's potential. And like younger me has in the past, I just wouldn't do it today. Let's just put it that way and leave it there. Anyway, so then from there we find out that Stacy is also a dominant person. But then we also find out from there that from TJ makes his comments like, well, we may not be doing things right now, but in the future, like you're not gonna out dominate me. And it was such a weird comment. And that's I guess my overarching overall thing when it comes to TJ is he's weird. He's really weird. Like when Giselle was asking what he does in LA, he says he hangs out with Bugs Bunny, which was really weird. And anyway, so they're still just having the conversations, and then all of a sudden we see like also I forgot to mention major side note, Ray in his answer about Karen being dominant. It was cracking me up. But that he was answering the question as the guest that we didn't want to see on our screen was showing up. So yeah, I just forgot to call it out, but that's what happened. Anyway, yeah. His little dog in the yard. Only to find out, child, old girl crashed a party. AKA Jacqueline crash a party, and it ends at a to be continued. And that is how this episode ends. And overall, this was a really, really cute, nice episode of The Real Housewives of Potomac. I'm looking forward to see what happens next week. Anyway, but that does conclude the video. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. One of these days I'll be on camera again, just not today. But anyway, that does conclude the video. And I will see you next time. Bye.